How's your weather where you live these days? It's pretty sunny here. Well, I have this closed. Actually, should put my camera on. I have this closed, but it's pretty sunny out there. All right. We're live streaming. I just realized that. Anyways, thank you, John. Hello, Myrna. Great to have you here. Here you are. Hi, Myrna.
Hi, Ravina. How you doing?
I'm good. I got my cup of tea. I'm feeling really good.
Good.
Yeah. Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having us.
Oh, no problem. We'll see how many we're getting today. Well, we should have a few more at least. I think it was a fairly 30 people signed up, but sometimes things come up, right? People sign up and then something comes up.
We have good intentions.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I even do that. Sometimes I think that I have time to do a class and then something comes up and I can't make it for the whole time. And then I feel bad about leaving halfway, but you know.
Things happen.
Sometimes that happens in my class. People can only come for half and I just say, that's fine. Just come, learn a few things and then come again. For the most part, my classes they are scheduled every week. Sometimes it misses a week and it'll come then the next week. So they'll start to rotate them a little bit because I think I'm working on my 12th class right now. So I think I have 9 of the 11 on the schedule these days. So there's 2
Wow.
more. I just did a diabetes one. So that one should be coming out fairly soon. That'll be a very good one. And the other one is on food lifestyles. So talking about the difference between like a vegan diet, how is that different than vegetarian? What does keto mean? What does Whole30 mean? You know, there's all sorts of trends out there.
Ooh.
So that's actually a very interesting class. I think they have to put it in the section coming soon, and then you have to sort of say notify me, and then if they feel like there's enough interest, then they'll schedule it. So
you have to let them know you want to be notified?
I think so. And that shows them that there's enough people interested in that class. So it should show up if you click the filter and put coming soon.
Okay.
I think you click classes, then you click, you put the filter on for coming soon. Hopefully that class will show up there. I'll check it again. It wasn't there a week or so ago. But
I was really excited to see your arthritis class.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I couldn't get in, but I signed up for next week.
Oh, good. Yes, it's a good class. Like I think I guess I'll wait till I get some feedback. I've only done it twice now, and I really focus on relief from arthritis, not just like who wants to just manage a disease. Like I guess managing is better than totally ignoring it completely, but you want to, you want to at least figure out a way to reduce your symptoms. I'm all about that. Like the diabetes class, very interesting. How to get yourself into remission, and you can do that with diabetes, type 2 diabetes.
Okay.
Do you do a class? I was wondering, do you do a class on cholesterol? How to bring it down?
I don't specifically have that, but I do talk about it in the optimal brain health class, the heart class. I talk about cholesterol quite a bit, just the differences. You want some good cholesterol in your life. So, anyways. But we'll talk about it. And if you have any specific questions, Chris, just ask me about cholesterol. I can answer that even today if we have some time.
Okay.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Let's get ourselves started. We have John in the support for us if you have any technical issues. And he started the recording for me. Thank goodness we've got our helpers now, which is wonderful. And so just to make sure you're in the right place, today is all about the 7 healing foods, 7 simple recipes. I'm going to have this wonderful little gift to give you in your post email, and it will be a booklet with the 7 recipes that we will talk about today, or talk about at the end. And unfortunately, for any of you that are live streaming, well, first of all, welcome if you're live streaming in today, this afternoon. And you won't be able to get the handout, but just register for the next week when you see it, and that'll be great. And John's put in the arthritis class right in the chat there for you to see. Thanks, John. So if you haven't met me, my name is Ravina. I'm one of the guides here at Get Set Up. I'm excited and happy to be mentoring you all. I've been studying health and wellness my whole entire life, nursing degree, functional nutrition, anything and everything. I'm always looking at the latest research on things. So my classes are very holistic. I have taken a few interest groups here, and I've taken a few other classes, and that have been wonderful. They might have a different look at things. I look at things from a whole perspective, a holistic perspective. I really focus on nutrition because that's my love. And I feel just like Dr. Mark Hyman, that nutrition in our food is the center of, I think should be the center of our healthcare. I really do believe that. We have beautiful healing foods out there, whole foods that can help heal us. And so that's why it's always my focus. So no matter what class it is, even morning routines, I might even talk about food. So that's that. We do learn from each other. So if you can put your camera on, that'd be lovely. So we can see who you are, even if it's, just for a few minutes. And we are live streaming today, just an FYI. So, and what does that mean? Well, we kind of have like a TV channel now. So if you see on our website and you go down the left-hand corner, there's a little TV icon. You can click that and you get a glimpse. Well, you get right into a class. You get to hear it. You get to see it. They can't see you and you can't see the chat, but it does give you a chance to check out a class. So that's really neat. And then at the end of class, you can ask for a recording, and we don't get paid for any, we don't get kickbacks or anything for any products or services I might talk about. And once in a while I do, if there's something that I want to share with you, something I've just learned about, something exciting, especially when it comes to products and foods. Okay, let's have a look at the agenda. We're going to understand the healing power of food. We're going to look at 7 healing foods that I myself personally picked out. And I think these are important for us older adults as we age. And then the 7 simple recipes that go with those 7 healing foods. I've been excited about this. I may at some point in the future add another recipe for each of those foods, because I don't know, I talk about recipes a lot. So that might be a way to give you another way of using the healing food in a different recipe. So stay tuned for that. I don't know. Depending on what I feel like working on, I might just work on that. All right, let's get started. How many of you have used a food in the past, maybe when you were a child, maybe, a mom or a grandma had you take this food to sort of support some type of a body ailment or like a symptom, to try and help rid yourself of a symptom? Anybody? You think of anything? Yeah. Oh, you're echoing a little bit, iPad. Sorry, maybe you can put it in the chat if we can't hear you. Try it again. Try saying it again. Okay, maybe put it into the chat. Chris, did you have something that you've used before?
Yes, actually, I'm doing it now because I'm as I'm aging, I'm trying to, when I eat, I try to make it healthy foods, because I found I feel so much better. I've got energy. My irritable bowel isn't bothering me. It's just like finding the right foods really does work.
Yes. Oh, good. Okay, so not anything very specific, except, having whole foods is quite specific. You're eating fresh or whole foods versus, say, a packaged food. I mean, even some of our, things like, I don't know, you can pick any whole food ingredient and they can package it. They can certainly add salt and add sugar. About 70% of our foods the packaged foods out there either have too much salt added to it. And one of the worst things, and if you actually start looking, which I started looking because we were doing very strict no sugar, they add sugar to things you don't even think that they would. So Teresa's used garlic. Yes, that's a great one. We always learned about garlic, and if you have a cold or an infection, have garlic. Anybody else think of something that they've used in the past, or their grandma? My grandmother used castor oil. I had to ask a learner what they use it for. I think it was just to clean your insides. Was it you, Myrna? I can't remember. Somebody had said to me, and I couldn't remember why they used it.
I think it was just for a weekly cleaning kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
And
it
there
might have
was
been you then. Hmm.
something called acidity.
Oh, yes. I've heard of that too. Yeah.
And we also had sassafras tea.
Okay. Yeah. Hmm.
I
It's
don't
so
know what
interesting.
those are now.
It's so interesting. Sometimes they've renamed things because, you know, the name is a little bit, you know, off-putting or just not, you know, nobody can pronounce it. So they change the names of things. The example I give is the aloe vera plant. My grandmother had an aloe vera plant, and us kids, we loved it. We'd take a little piece, even if we didn't really need it, and the beautiful gel of the aloe vera and put it on our skin. I mean, you can put it straight on your skin, which is amazing. And it's a plant that just grows. I don't know, you don't have to even love it that much. Like the plant is, you can't kill it hardly. It does grow quite well. All right, well, let's get moving along here. So the healing power of food, what we do look at is we look at natural, nutrient-dense foods, and they're known to help protect and mitigate against and even cure some chronic diseases, slow down the effects of aging, and promote longevity. That is the class I'm working on right now, is longevity. So I'm doing a class soon once I've created it called Improving Your Longevity. Now, who wouldn't want that? And for me, it's not just about living till I'm 100, but living to 100 vibrantly. If I have the money, if I don't run out of money, and I can live a fulfilling life, wouldn't that be nice to tack on an extra 5, 10, 20 years to your life so you can enjoy traveling more, reading more interesting books, like, you know, while you're here on earth, like, why not? So we look at the healing foods as being nutrient dense. And what that means is, just like the name, they're dense, full of nutrients. So they've got packed full of vitamins and minerals, which is important, because when you have foods that have the vitamins and minerals in them, the time and the process it takes for your body to go through and process whatever you put into your mouth, they're going to use some of those vitamins and minerals, and then they're going to store the rest, hopefully, if the body can, for later use when you eat that bag of chips and there's no vitamins and minerals. Does that make sense? No matter what you put into your mouth, your body has to process it. So even if it's like a non-functional food, meaning it's not giving you vitamins and minerals, it still has to get some calcium, it still has to get the selenium, it still has to get the vitamin A to break down that whatever it is you ate. So if you don't eat a nutrient dense food, you're kind of like, you're using up your stores of vitamins and minerals, and they're getting lower and lower and lower. So keep that in mind. That's how I describe the nutrient dense food. So banana, for example, is a nutrient dense foods because it's got a lot of vitamins and minerals in it, more than it needs to process the banana. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. The other reason why nutrient dense foods are so healing is because this number one thing, it helps to decrease and control inflammation inside of you. Now, I just did the class on arthritis this morning, and we talked about inflammation. And just think about if you've got irritations in your body, your elbow, your hands, your fingers, from arthritis, which is like inflammation on the joints. That's inflammation. How can we reduce inflammation inside of our bodies? That seems to be the key. And it's so amazing that teaching a lot of the health and wellness classes here at Get Set Up, I've realized the common theme, and maybe some of you have noticed that too. Myrna, you've been in a lot of my classes. Teresa has as well. Others of you have been to a lot of my classes. It comes down to the same similar things about inflammation in our bodies. And if you look at Chinese medicine, you look at a lot of the diseases that we have, are genes that turn on us and express the disease, like maybe diabetes runs in your family and you know you got a few of those genes, but it can sit dormant if you eat a healthy diet. But when you do some things, it could tip it, and now those genes express to that disease. Think about it. If you've got inflammation, redness, swelling, heat happening somewhere in your body, that's kind of an environment for a disease to manifest. So if you think of it that way, then you would say to yourself, hey, I want to make sure I have no inflammation in my body and that my body is getting what it needs, the whole foods, the natural foods into your body. So the common theme in a lot of my classes, whether it's to do with eye health, brain health, heart health, arthritis, the diabetes class that's coming, it's all comes down to reducing your inflammation in your body. So keep that in mind as we go through. You can get it on your blood work and get tested and see what is your inflammation level. It's called a C. It's like you spell it with a C and then a dash, reactive. C, that's the name of the test, blood test. And you can just ask your doctor to add it to your blood panel and just take a look and see what's going on inside. It's a great way to check that. So as I mentioned, Dr. Mark Hyman and Dr. Axe, they both are doctors that focus on nutrition. I mean, Dr. Axe says, whatever is in that grocery cart of yours has a huge impact on how healthy you are. And, you know, I'll admit there's times when I'm at the grocery store and, you know, maybe most people, we're not really paying attention to too many people now. We go in, we get focused, we do our thing and we leave. We've got our mask on. We're just trying not to have any socialization. But in the past, I'd be in the grocery store and almost feel embarrassed to put the bag of chips in my bag or in my grocery cart, or I'd be noticing what other people have in their grocery store, especially the person ahead of me when they're doing the checkout. Do you ever do that? I just like to see what products are they buying. You know, if I see something interesting, I'll even ask them. Maybe not lately, but I would ask, oh, what do you use that for? It's kind of neat to do that. So it really makes a difference what you put in your grocery cart, as Dr. Axe says. So I've picked 7 foods to talk about today, and these are, I feel, are fairly accessible to most of us. Some of us might live in more remote areas, but I'm hoping you can get all of these products. And then the recipe goes along with these products. Does anybody have any questions before we move on? Feeling good? Okay, let's go to the first one. Are you surprised? I put apples as my first healing food. We take it for granted, our apples. We do. We have, I would say most everyone here, if you go to your grocery store, you have at least 2 different types of apples, if not 3, 4, or 5 different types of apples. Depending on where you live, you might get some beautiful or local apples for your area. I've tried all sorts of different apples. I mean, the Honeycrisp ones those are to die for. They're usually the most expensive in my grocery store. I tried this yellow apple called Opal, O-P-A-L. I love the flavor of that. It almost tasted citrus to me, a little bit of a citrus note. So apples are wonderful. We get that saying from somewhere, an apple a day keeps a doctor away. It's true. It has some real truth to it. I know some individuals who are older who swear by eating an apple every day, no matter what they do for the rest of their food intake for the week. They make sure they have enough apples per week so that they can eat 1 apple a day. And just that beautiful, amazing, gorgeous fiber in the apple, our bodies love it. You can protect your heart eating apples. Apples have so much beautiful pectin and that beautiful soluble fiber. It helps to clean out the pipes, you know, as you're chewing and it goes through your system. It's a really great way to keep your body clean, and it really does give that double dose of heart health, heart protection. So apples, yes, we take it for granted. Now, does anybody know when the season is for apples in the year in most places here in North America? It's funny, right? We see apples every single day in the grocery store, and it just seems like they're always there. But there is a season for apples.
Fall.
Yes, that's right. I mean, apples typically are like September. That's when the apples are truly ripen on the tree and get picked. So keep that in mind when you're buying your apples. Because the apple is so hardy, it is a perishable food, but it is so hardy, they can store apples for a long time. Unlike, say, like bananas are not going to last anywhere near what apples. They do some kind of funky, I don't know, spray or gas or something. I had a learner here that worked at a grocery store, and she mentioned the name of the gas, and I can't remember what it is. It doesn't really matter, but the fact is they can do stuff. You have to store it in a cool place, and they can keep apples. Like, you know how like when you go on holidays, you can keep apples in your fridge. You don't have to, you know, hand the apples to the neighbor like you would say your jug of milk or something. The apples will probably stay okay. How can you tell when an apple is getting old?
It gets a little wrinkled, or it's soft.
Yes. And it does, it gets that bit of a wrinkly sort of look to it, but you still, I mean, I've even eaten it when I've had an old apple, because it's not like moldy, but it gets kind of soft and mealy in the inside. So if you notice apples on sale in your grocery store, don't be afraid. I always say this in every class, like, don't be afraid. Your produce guy is, you know, maybe not right now because of, you know, the whole isolation thing, but they love to chat about what they specialize in. Ask them about the apples. Hey, these apples on sale. Are these fresh apples? Which season are they from? So keep that in mind when you go, and knowing that fresh apples come in September. So apples that you're eating in your grocery store in February, they're from last season.
Ravina?
Yes.
I'm from California, and about 2 hours from Modesto is a place called Apple Hill above Placerville. And it's wonderful to go visit there because you get the fresh ones. But I get the pies too.
Oh, I hear you on that, because we've got we have apples in the interior, but the strawberry and raspberries, when they come into season, I go to get the fresh fruit, but I also do buy the pies too. But yeah, I've been to Modesto or around that area, so that's really neat. And it really is amazing when you eat fresh off a tree. Do you remember when you were a child? Did you have an apple tree in your backyard? It's just, there's nothing beats a fresh apple. But keep in mind, if they store it properly, the apples can last a very long time. So that's the first one. We'll get to the recipe at the end. The next one is ginger. Ginger is an amazing healing food. It's been around for thousands of years. There's a compound in ginger called gingerols. It's very easy to remember because it sounds like ginger. So gingerols, that compound, once you ingest your ginger, that compound gingerols goes right into your digestive tract, and it goes right into the little receptors in the digestive tract, and it takes over the space where that nausea feeling would try to get in there. So if you're feeling nauseous for whatever reason, maybe it's you've had a long bus ride, or you're going to be going on a bus, maybe it's an airplane ride, maybe it's just being in the car, maybe you just ate too much for dinner and you're feeling kind of bloated and just heavy, have a little bit of ginger, and that in itself will alleviate some of your digestive distress. And you can use it preventatively, which means, say, you know, you're going on a long bus ride coming up, you can have your ginger, whatever you have it in, before you do your trip, and it will help you. So if you know you're going on a boat, like I have a ferry here, we take the car onto the ferry. It's an hour and a half to get from Victoria, where I live, over to Vancouver. So, you know, I'm pretty okay on boats, but if it's a rough night and the waves are rough, not a bad idea to have this ginger. So Asian cultures have been using ginger for eons to relieve nausea and to help improve digestion. It also has been found to help with arthritis relief and cancer protection. Interesting. So I will admit, I didn't like ginger when I was growing up. My mom used to put it in some of the cooking, and one day I bit down on a big chunk of ginger, and it was so strong in my mouth as a kid. I hated it. So I didn't like ginger for years. But now as an adult, and, you know, I cook for myself, I cut the ginger really, really small and put it into my stir fry or into my soups. And it's nice. Now you buy ginger as a root. You can buy ginger powder, but this is a nice one to buy fresh. And what you can do is put it in a Ziploc freezer bag, or whatever type of freezer bag. If you don't use it often, just zip it up, put it in the freezer, pull it out, wait a couple minutes, and then chop off a little piece of it. And then it won't go bad as quickly. I'm going to say around 3 months in the freezer. I wouldn't leave it that much longer. But I just noticed my husband doing this just yesterday. He was using the ginger. The other tip is you take your ginger, you cut your little arm off of it, pretend this is ginger, and you take the back of a teaspoon or a spoon, the back of it, and you just scrape it like that to take that skin off of it. It's the easiest and best way to take the skin off without taking half the ginger with it, because it's so small, like the little finger. If you use a potato peeler, you'll end up taking too much of the ginger. But if you scrape it with the back of the spoon, you'll just scrape off a little bit of the skin. Now, I know some people that don't even bother with the skin, taking it off. They just chop it and throw it in there, and if they get it in their mouth, in their teeth, they just, spit it out. But that's the easiest way to do it. If you want to do it, especially say you're putting it in your smoothie in the morning, you might want to just peel it and then chop it fine and stick it in your Vitamix or whatever you have. Myrna, did you want to ask a question?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment. My sister was telling me that she puts it in a food processor and then in an ice tray, and that way she has a nice little cube to put in whatever she wants to put in, since she puts it in all of her food.
Yeah, great idea. I love that whole idea of the little the little ice cube tray. Yes, and there's some really good silicone ones that are just easy to pop them out. I think it's a great way to store ginger and even garlic as well. And you can even add a little bit of well, I know some people that make their own little mix up and do it in the cubes, but that's fascinating. I think it's a great idea for us because we use it for different purposes. We just stick the whole ginger in the freezer and then we can just pull it out when we want it. But yeah, thank you for that. Valentine, do you have a question?
Yes. Have you ever heard of anyone just taking a little tiny piece of ginger, just putting it in their mouth and chew it up? Is that good or no?
Well, it's quite strong. There's people, oregano oil, that strong, powerful thing. I know people that I put that in their mouth and brush their teeth with it. Like, to me, it's so potent, it burns my tongue. Ginger could be a little bit like that. I wouldn't necessarily go ahead, but the recipe I'm going to give you is going to give you some really good fresh ginger. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's terrible to do that. But I wouldn't probably do it myself. It'd be too strong in my mouth, I think. It would almost burn my mouth, I think.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, in saying that, I will say that they do doctor up the ginger in some ways. Now, I'm not a fan of the candied ginger, because if you read the ingredients on a bag of candied ginger, guess what the first ingredient is? It's like refined sugar. Like they try to make it sound all healthy and say it's cane sugar. It's still sugar. And it's usually the first ingredient, which is the most, in the list of ingredients, the first one that's listed has the most in it, right? And it goes to the end. So if you see something right at the end and, you're kind of like humming and hawing and they have a tiny bit of sugar, if it's like the last in the ingredient list, that means it's the least amount in the product. So candied ginger, I know people that do that, chew on that before they go on the boat ride and things like that. All right, that's ginger. The third one, did you think I was going to talk about garlic? Of course, because I love garlic. I can smell it for miles. Like if I'm out for a walk and I smell somebody frying garlic, I'm in love. I think sometimes it's the Thai food restaurant near my house, or it's somebody making delicious food when I smell garlic. One thing about garlic, though, I'll tell you, when you're making Indian food of any sort, you usually start with a little bit of oil and onions and garlic. Always wait to put your garlic in, because your garlic may burn. Your onions always take longer. So it's just a little tip I thought I'd share with you. Put your onions in first. Let your onions start going and working and building up, some like browning a little bit, then add your garlic. Because if you put your garlic in at the same time, you will burn your garlic. Wen, did you have a question or a statement to say?
Oh, I have just a question. Is garlic just as beneficial cooked or raw? I don't eat it raw. The second thing is I made something I use a lot of garlic. The garlic I think I had it with mustard and maybe lemon. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I put it on fish. And mm-hmm. I wasn't sure why the garlic sometimes turns bluish green.
Okay, so your first question about, I think from what I read, garlic can be can be raw or cooked, and you're going to get good benefit from it. Raw garlic sometimes is a little bit tough on your stomach. Sometimes what people do is they take raw garlic and they crush it, like really crush it down to like little bits. And they might put that in a marinade. Say you're going to marinate a fit for your fish or for your meat. And that's totally fine. You'll get the benefit. But that's what I'm saying about garlic. Don't burn your garlic. I mean, I'm sure you'll still get some benefit, but it burns really easily. So just if you're going to fry it a little bit, just make sure you put it in last. Let the onions get to where they need to be. That greenish bluish color, usually when you have like a clove of garlic like this, you see this little middle part of the garlic. Sometimes it starts to sprout. If your garlic is a little bit old, you'll see like a green bit in the middle of the garlic, if you can see where my pointer is. And if you've got some green in there, that's what I think is causing that bluish green color, because of the inside has started to sprout a little bit, and you've got green, like an actual green part of the garlic. I'll look that up though. Let me just put a little note here, and I'll see if there's any other reason. And when I give you guys your post notes, I will make a comment about that, and I'll just say it's for when. Yeah, I'll look that up for you.
It was not, I know what you mean. Sometimes when it's been in there a while, it starts kind of like sprouting.
Growing. Yeah, and I always sort of take it out, but
yeah, it wasn't that, because I think it's some reaction either with the lemon or I'm not sure what it is, but it doesn't always happen.
Right.
So I was thinking I'm not sure.
Yeah, it could be something like that, but I'll look that up for you. And there's different types of garlic as well. You know, the Russian garlic's that beautiful, beautiful purpley color on the outside, the skin. I mean, there might be something to do with the type of garlic, because there's obviously different types. But garlic is amazing, amazing. Back in the day, you would have it if you had a cold or an infection, because it's got anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antibacterial, and antiviral benefits. So basically, it fights these viruses, bacteria, microbes. So having garlic every day is kind of like a bit of a protection. So I love garlic. I'll eat it every day if I could. It's great for heart health. It's good for, they have researched it, it's good for cancer treatment and prevention. It also helps to control hypertension, which is our high blood pressure. And then of course the colds and infections, which I mentioned. The next food, number 4, is blueberries. So we got another fruit here. Now the blueberries are the powerhouse of antioxidants. Like seriously, seriously, blueberries are on the top brain foods. If you've taken my brain class, blueberries help to remove those free radicals that are in your body from oxidation. And it also protects you from various diseases, including cancer. Blueberries, as my mentor, Jim Quick, says, he calls them brain berries because they just are so protective for your body. Valentine, did you have a question? Okay, she might be.
Yes,
not.
yes,
Sure.
yes, man. It was on the garlic. I use a lot of garlic powder.
Yeah.
Is that just as good as the raw garlic, the garlic powder?
I will say that the raw or cooked fresh garlic is more potent than your garlic powder. Now remember, there's garlic powder and there's garlic salt. So if you use garlic salt, remember that it's kind of mixed in with salt. So there's that salt component. Garlic powder is great in a pinch. Like if I'm making
I put it in everything.
Yes, I mean, I think it's better than no garlic, but definitely not as potent. But I buy garlic powder when I'm trying to think, when I make salmon patties or something, and I want to do, and I don't want to get garlic in my teeth, and I want it to be in the patty. I'll throw garlic powder in a lot of things. So it's definitely good for you. But if you can get fresh is best. Fresh is best, I think.
Okay, well, just crush it up, maybe.
Yes, there's a thing called I'm going to put it in the notes for you too. It's called, my chef friend told me about it. Starts with a Z, I think. You guys say Z. It's a Zytec or something. It's the best little tool for crushing your garlic. I love it. It's just a little silvery, and it lasts forever. Like I've had mine forever.
Okay.
I'll look that one up. But yes, that's the easiest way to crush garlic.
I use a microplane and have a bowl over the microplane, and it gets it into a real smooth, like a paste almost.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, there's so many different handy things out there now. So just getting back to blueberries, blueberries has been also known to reduce blood pressure as well. So it's good for that. Good for that. But blueberries are wonderful. A handful of blueberries. The recipe I have is kind of a fun recipe, but most people I think eat blueberries either fresh or in a frozen bag. And that's, you pull out a handful to put in your oatmeal, put in your smoothie, just sit and eat them frozen. Some people like to eat them like almost like little candy. It's better than eating candy, I guess, sitting there eating your frozen blueberries. So blueberries are a wonderful, wonderful food. And yeah, Chris, did you want to say something?
Well, I use blueberries every day in my oatmeal, and I do the frozen. Is frozen better than fresh, or do they have the same nutrients?
So this is what I'll say. If you buy things that are frozen, flash frozen, when I was studying nutrition, I'll just step back for a second. I used to think frozen wasn't good. I thought, who's eating frozen vegetables? Like, why are they eating beans that are frozen? I didn't like it, and I thought it wasn't good. But I learned in my nutrition program that when they flash freeze items like blueberries, they're freezing them at their peak. So peak beautiful blueberries, they freeze it. They just catch fish, they freeze it. That's a great way to preserve it. So I would prefer to have frozen blueberries than blueberries that have been sitting in my fridge for 3 weeks and getting old and losing their beautiful vitamins and minerals. Because when food sits and starts to spoil or gets old, you're going to lose the potency of them. So I would prefer the frozen. Obviously, in blueberry season that's coming up in the summertime here in where I live, I'm going to go to that blueberry place and pick up like fresh blueberries. But of course, you eat as much as you can and then you freeze the rest, right? So frozen is absolutely fine. Perfect. I still look for the wild blueberries. I still look for organic blueberries. I still want to make sure I'm getting it from the source that I feel comfortable with. So that's basically it. Just read your ingredients. Sometimes the weirdest things, like I said this in another class, the little potato patties I was buying, I thought I was doing myself a favor instead of like doing my own hash browns sometimes. And then I did a class on sugar and stuff, and I thought, no way. And I looked at every single potato patty brand I could find, and every single one of them had dextrose in it. And guess what dextrose is? It's just a fancy hidden sugar. It's a sugar. So they add sugar to your potato patties. Doesn't that make you feel sick? And do you know why they do it? Do you know why they do it? Because you don't really taste sugar. Hopefully you don't, because it's your potato. It's like, that's the savory part of your breakfast. They do it to get you addicted. So you want to eat more and you buy more of their product. That is why sugar is added to your foods. So that's another reason processed packaged foods versus taking your whole, I'd rather just get the potato and grate it myself and make my hash browns. But again, convenience. Sometimes we don't have time to do that. But that's the downfall, is that you sometimes get ingredients you don't want. Yeah. Sin, did you have a question, or is that from before?
What's the difference between wild blueberries and regular blueberries?
All right. So I did a little study on blueberry. First of all, any blueberries are amazing for you. There's early blueberries, there's mid-season blueberries, and there's the late blooming blueberries. So there's different varietals of the blueberry. I found out that the wild blueberry, and you can find it even at Costco, it'll say wild blueberry. They're the smaller ones, and apparently they're even more potent, full of all this amazing stuff. But at this point, because it's already an amazing food, I would just go for whichever one.
Yeah. Is it better to get organic? Do they have wild organic or just wild?
Well, wild, if it says wild, I'm sure it will say it would be organic. I always go for organic fruit because a lot of fruit can be sprayed. So definitely, if you can afford it, go for it. If you can't afford organic, try and buy local so it's not traveled the countryside. And just make sure you wash your fruit before you eat it. There's ways to just wash it.
What's the best way to wash the fruit? And
well, I make sure my sink is clean. I fill it with some warm water. I put a half a cup of vinegar in there and 1 little teaspoon of baking soda. That's it. You don't have to buy a fancy cleaner. And you put your fruit all in there and let it sit for about 5 minutes. And then you take each piece and you just rinse it with the warm water. You make sure, you know, your water supply is clean. And then you put it on a towel and make sure the fruit dries, because if it stays moist, then it will go bad faster. I do that with everything. That's it. Vinegar, you can even do it like this. Fill up your water, go like this with the vinegar jug, and one little half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of baking powder, and that's it.
Not
That's all you
baking
have to do.
soda, baking powder.
Baking soda. Sorry, baking
Baking
soda.
soda.
Did I say baking powder? Baking soda.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I'll try to get wild organic, not just, it's
Yeah,
best to
I
get
mean,
wild.
I did a reading about it. They said the wild is even more potent, but any blueberry is fantastic for you. So
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, let's keep moving because I want to show you the recipes. So number 5 is salmon. Beautiful, gorgeous, oily fish, salmon. It's packed full of omega-3 fatty acids. And why is that important? Because we cannot manufacture those in our body. We need omega-3 fatty acids or we will die. Did you know that? Like we need it to do a lot of processes in our body. So we have to get it from our food. So that's why I think salmon is a very, very healing food, because with the omega-3s in it, it helps to bring down inflammation in your body. I have never had a salmon meal, whether it's in a restaurant or at home, where I didn't feel really good afterwards. I've had other meals of other protein sources and felt full and bloated and like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that much. But when I eat salmon, it's very, very hard to overeat salmon, because you eat it and you feel satisfied because it's got these gorgeous oils in it that makes you feel satiated, if that makes sense. Salmon, somebody asked this in my other class, but I'll just say I'm not a fan of farmed salmon. Farmed salmon is dealt with differently. They feed it different stuff. Like, it's not wild to just eat what it wants to eat. It gets fed, I don't know, I don't think they feed it grains, but they feed the farmed salmon something different than it would get in the wild. So it's not the same. There's diseases that go through in the farmed areas, and you know, if I can get it wild caught, I will. Most cans of salmon is wild caught, and it will say it right on the label because they want to promote that it's wild if it is. If it doesn't say wild caught, then you know maybe it's farmed. Yeah, so that's it about salmon. But salmon's packed full of protein, your B12s, your B6s, vitamin D that a lot of us are low in, selenium, which is a mineral, you know, the trace mineral. And I would say if you can try and eat some form of fish once a week, you're going to keep your stores up really nicely. Question, Valentine, you have a question?
I was just talking and had my mute on. What about the salmon? You know, you can buy it in the grocery store. It's in like a package. Is that not good for you?
Salmon pieces, like chunks of salmon in a package?
It's it's like sealed in a package. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just took out fish for dinner tonight, and how they do it now to make it easier for especially if you live on your own. It comes in like one package, and then you open it up, and they're like freezer. They're sealed in their own little individual packages. That's what they do. You can buy those machines, but basically it sucks out all the oxygen, so it's like a sealed one piece of fish, and it's sealed, vacuum packed is what I'm looking for.
It's in like little chunks though.
Yeah, that's totally fine. That just means that they took the fish and they did all the work for you. They took the, you know, the skin, and they did all that, and they chopped it into your little pieces. That's convenient.
It's not frozen. It's not frozen.
You can do frozen or fresh. If they do that for you, is fine. As long as you read any packaging. I always read the packaging to see, because you're surprised when you find out that they've put, I don't know, some weird ingredient in there that you don't want. I mean, I'm not a fisherman, so I don't go out and fish myself, but just read the ingredients of whatever it comes in. But packaged in chunks like that is totally fine. Totally fine. And don't be afraid to ask your fishmonger if this fish is fresh, or like at the grocery store, they'll tell you. Because you ask them, is this fish that is here, is this fresh fish? They'll say, oh, it was previously frozen. Like, and then you want to know, well, how long has it been in the case? 2 days? Like, you know, you ask your questions. I always ask the questions. All right. The 6th one is avocado. Avocados are actually a fruit, but it's an interesting fruit because it's a savory fruit. And so it's not sweet, and it's full of monounsaturated fats, which is our healthy fats, which helps our cholesterol, helps us to increase our good cholesterol, which is the HDL. That's our good cholesterol that we need. You need to have good cholesterol in your body. If you end up with low cholesterol, you're on Lipitor or some type of medication, and it drops your cholesterol really low, you might start to feel depressed. That can be a symptom. We need good cholesterol in our body to have our body function properly. So make sure that you get good fat in your body to keep that the good cholesterol higher. And avocados is your number one food to get it from. It's packed full of fiber and all sorts of vitamins and minerals. Very high in vitamin C, by the way, as well. And
could you just repeat what you said about depression though?
Yeah, I'm just from my
depression?
Sure, from my nursing experience and from studying functional nutrition, if you are on cholesterol lowering medication, which a lot of people are, like Lipitor is a very common brand that people go on, it will bring your cholesterol levels down. But remember, there's two types of cholesterol, the bad LDL and the good HDL. And if you lower your cholesterol too low and your good cholesterol goes too low, your body isn't lubricated enough. It's not functioning at its optimum. And one of the side effects of too low cholesterol, so if you're on medication to bring it down too low, is depression.
Man, it's high. Sometimes it gets high.
Yeah, obviously high cholesterol is not good, but I would just say don't eat the trans fats and like the bad fats, just eat the good fats. Like eat your egg yolk, eat your avocados, and eat your salmon to get the good omega-3 fatty acids. That fat and that cholesterol in there is what's really good for you. Please talk to your doctor when he's doing your tests. Like if you've got cholesterol off the charts, maybe he'll say don't eat any foods with cholesterol, that you need to bring it into a better normal range. But remember, there's two types of cholesterol. We can't survive without that one cholesterol. We definitely need it. All right, the last food is turmeric. Yay, we get to talk about turmeric again. Again, the compound in turmeric is called curcumin. It's not the same as cumin, that's another spice, but curcumin. And it is powerful at reducing inflammation in your body. It's like, I would say, the number one natural remedy to reduce inflammation in your body. There's so many studies on the benefits of turmeric. It's not the tastiest. It's sort of a little bit kind of bitter. Best is as a powder. It's very hard to deal with the root, and it gets very staining on your hands. So buy a powder. Just start with 1/8 of a teaspoon or 1/4 teaspoon and put it in your soup. Put it in your oatmeal. Somebody told me they put it in their oatmeal. I made deviled eggs the other day and I added it in with the egg yolks. It just gives you that brilliant, beautiful color. You can add it into your scrambled eggs. You can put it in your smoothie. You can use it in your soups, like the dal recipe. Well, you're going to see the recipe. It's my mother's recipe. So turmeric is just very, very healthy for us. I don't know of anybody, I have never heard of anybody being allergic to turmeric, but there are some that believe in it so much with their arthritis or their medical issues that they take turmeric capsules just to make sure they get the turmeric into their bodies every day. I used to have capsules here. Again, it's quite a lot of turmeric you're taking. I would just make sure that you talk to your healthcare professional to let them know that that's what you're doing. They might need to monitor how it might affect how much medication you take for something. So just let them know.
I take it daily, the tablets from U3, I think and it's at Costco, and I wait till it's on coupon. And
yeah,
it totally takes the pain away from my bulging discs.
Yeah,
and I recommended it to friends, and they ditto. But a friend also said, make sure you get it with a little black pepper extract mixed in, because that helps your body absorb it.
Absolutely. And so I had another learner tell me about the black pepper, and I did my own research on it. So in the recipe I'm giving you, I've added a half a teaspoon of black pepper to the recipe. It just, I mean, turmeric on its own is great. If you add a bit of black pepper, it will help to absorb the turmeric into your system. Myrna.
What was the name of the product that she just mentioned?
Carolyn, can you just put that in the chat for us? If you are going to take capsules, definitely tell your doctor. But there's a product, I think she says she gets it at Costco. So Carolyn, if you can hear us, if you can just type it into the chat for everybody to have a look at, that would be great. All right, so I'm going to just stop sharing for just a second here, and I am going to show you in the last few minutes here the recipe booklet that you're going to get. So this booklet you're going to get in the, it will come into the in the email. When did you have a question? I can't tell if you just put your hand up.
I don't get those.
Yeah, I did have a question. I just want to know, can you explain that C-reactive protein and the inflammation? What exactly does that mean? And how would you counteract something like that?
How would you, sorry, say that again? How would I what?
How would you reduce the inflammation? I don't know if that C-reactive protein is typically done in a like an annual visit with the blood test.
So I've just typed it in, and that's the name of the blood. Yeah, you have to ask for it. Sometimes your doctor will do it. Sometimes they just don't bother. It's called C-reactive protein, and that specifically tells how much inflammation you have in your body. You do have to ask for it if you don't see it on the panel. And your question on how to take care of it, well, we're talking about it right now. All 7 healing foods that I've talked about today has some form of reducing inflammation. So the only way to reduce inflammation in our body is to not eat inflammatory foods and eat the anti-inflammatory foods. Maybe the way we're dealing with our body, like if we have an injury to something, you're going to have inflammation. If you've got an infection inside because of something, you could have inflammation. So to reduce our inflammation, you need to stay away from the sugars. Dairy is very inflammatory to most people, by the way, dairy foods. So what I'm showing you right now is the recipe book. And
thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't get your notes afterward. What do I do to this?
Who is saying that? Do I see you?
Cease.
Oh, Cease. Do you have your email? What's the email that you signed up for the class with?
Laverca@wildway.com.
Okay, so if you've signed up, it should come to you because it keeps track of who's in the class. If you came to the class, if people don't come to the class, I don't believe you usually get the handout, but hopefully you'll get it. If not, just send it to help@getsetup.io and tell them what you're missing. And
help at getsetup.com.
.io.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So here's the booklet you're going to get, and we'll just go real quick. We've got a little bit of time. So these are the recipes. So for the apple, I'm giving you my chunky applesauce recipe. Now, just a couple highlights on this one. I use the slow cooker to cook it, which is really fun. I feel like it's just the best way because the apples get a chance to slowly do their cooking. And the beauty of it is the apples get a chance to release their own natural sugars. So 2 things that I say, and I put it in the notes, try buying a few different apples. Sometimes we just take the same type of apple to make our applesauce. We got extra apples, so we use the same apple. If you use different apples, you're going to get a little bit different flavoring, which is quite lovely for your applesauce. The other thing is, try this just once. We always tend to just add sugar to our applesauce thinking, oh, it's going to be tart. But what I want to suggest is if you cook your applesauce in the slow cooker and allow the natural sugars to come out of the apples, you do not need to add sugar, like 0 sugar. You don't need to add sugar. Add your spices, add your nutmeg, your cinnamon. Test it out and see how beautifully it tastes without sugar. And once you do that, you'll realize you don't need to add sugar. So that's my little tip on the applesauce. The second one is the ginger tea. So somebody was asking whether they could just chew right on ginger. I wouldn't necessarily recommend just doing that. It'd be quite strong, but you can take a nice slice of ginger and put it into your tea. That's a great way to have your tea. I always add a tiny bit of lemon and a little hint of honey to mine. And you can do it preventatively again, like I said, have it before maybe you're starting to feel nauseous, have the tea and it will help. Most of the
Ravina,
times.
how
Yes.
are we going to access these recipes? Will they?
I'm going to send it to you in an email
Oh,
at the
an
end of
email.
the class.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll
Sorry,
be a
thanks.
PDF. It'll be a link. It'll be an attachment, and and then you'll be able to download it
Perfect.
onto your own computer. The garlic I'm using in a creamy mashed potatoes recipe. This one's really delicious. I like to use the yellow potatoes because those are my favorite potatoes, but you can use russet potatoes. You can use whatever potatoes you have. So also here I use cream in mine, but you can also use plain Greek yogurt or sour cream, anything like that to make it smooth. And then all the instructions are here. And then I also teach you how to roast garlic. Some people don't know how to roast garlic, and it's a really easy way to do garlic. And that's a great way to eat your garlic whole and like on its own. It's quite lovely. Then we've got the blueberry vinaigrette. So this is a way of you can take your frozen blueberries right from that, and you can make this recipe. And I love it because it makes this beautiful vinaigrette that you can put on your salad, but you can also put this on fish, and you can also put this on chicken. It goes really nicely with chicken. Something different, right? And remember to put your oil in. Always have your oil to emulsify it. Otherwise, it will not smooth out. It won't come together well, which we call emulsify. It won't be a smooth texture. So you definitely.
I'm sorry, what you had to have?
You always have to have a fat in there. So in this recipe,
olive oil?
It's olive oil. I mean,
Thank
if you
you.
didn't have olive oil, you could use coconut oil, but you definitely need to add the fat into the vinaigrette. Otherwise, it won't blend. And then we've got the maple soy glazed salmon recipe. Now, this is a great recipe. Can peanut oil be used? So, Teresa, I'm not a fan of peanut oil, but yes, you could use peanut oil if you wanted to. The reason I'm not a fan of some of the plant oils, and I'll just tell you real quick, is that they're full of omega-6s. We need omega-6s in our body, but they need to be in ratio with omega-3s. And we're always low in our omega-3s, except I keep, recommending that people eat their omega-3s. But most people are like 16 ratio of 16 to 1. They got 16 of the omega-6s to 1 of the omega-3s, and you want that balance to have good health. So a lot of these things like peanut oil and canola oil and stuff like that, it's the plant oils that are high in omega-6s. So it just makes it even more out of whack. So I'd rather you have coconut oil or have olive oil, because that has your omega-3s in it. Just to answer your question, this is a great recipe for anybody who doesn't like fish or is not really loving knowing that they like fish. This has a really great marinade, and you're putting a little bit of orange juice and you're mixing it in your garlic and your soy sauce. It's absolutely delicious. The number one thing on this one is don't overcook your fish, because it will not taste good. That's another big mistake people make. Because fish does not take long to cook. You take your fork and you can just, if it flakes, then you know it's ready, and it can get ready really, really quickly. I think I give you an example of testing it. It's about 10 minutes per inch. So if it's an inch thick, it only takes about 10 minutes cooking time. Guacamole is the next recipe. This is an actual recipe from Mexico City from an individual when I was traveling in Mexico, and I watched them make it in the kitchen, and I got it in Spanish, and I had my friend translate it for me. This is how they make guacamole, and it's absolutely just gorgeous. And you can put guacamole, you can have guacamole on the side of your fish, in your fish tacos. You can have guacamole in with chips. Maybe chips aren't the best, but tacos, I have guacamole on the side of just about everything. And then lastly, I've got this recipe that Sarita is my mother's name. And she's not here with us anymore, but she would be absolutely thrilled that I'm sharing this recipe with you. This is the very first recipe Indian recipe she shared with me and taught me to cook when I was a young girl. And I added to her recipe, as you can see here, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper because of the increasing absorption of the turmeric. This recipe takes 2 teaspoons of turmeric, and this is like, it's a yellow dal recipe that is like a pea soup. It's like a soup. Indian cooking, they, eat it with rice, or you eat it with some form of bread, roti, or, a naan bread. And it freezes really well. So you can make it up and put it in little containers and put it in the freezer. But it's a wonderful recipe, easy to make. And as I said, my mother would be super thrilled that I'm sharing it with all of you. So that is it for just to show you the recipes. I'll just get back to the screen here. So just as we end, we're just at time now. Feel free to sign up for other courses. We have new courses coming out every single week, so just look out on the schedule. Some new courses of mine, some new courses of other guides. I will send out the email to you momentarily, and then you'll have the link to the recipes.
Do you know when you're teaching this again? Because I missed half of it because I was in a different class.
Oh, you're taking 2 classes at once. I see.
Yeah, right.
No problem. Next week, I think this class is on Thursday next week.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So feel free to
remember, she can get a recording of it, right?
Yep, she can do that. I'm not sure if she missed half the class and she just wants to be in the class, the full class. So please fill out the feedback.
I would like to do it again. That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to do the feedback. You can rate it from 1 to 5 star and give your little comments, because we do love to read the comments and see what we can fix or improve. And you can invite a friend now. We've got a little button for that. And then lastly, that's the email address to send to get your recording if you would like a recording. And then in the chat here, I will just stop sharing. There was a question about avocado oil to use to emulsify. Yes, absolutely. Any oil will help to emulsify with the blueberry vinaigrette or whatever you're making. So avocado oil has become a very popular oil, and I do enjoy that one as well. But my email said class started in 1 hour. Okay, sorry for the confusion with the class. So I'm not sure what happened there. All right, so unless you have a question for me, I will. Sure, Myrna, go for it.
This one is just for my personal use. Do you have a quick recipe for a salmon burger?
I do have a salmon patty recipe that I use. Now I'm trying not to eat gluten, and so all I do with my canned salmon is I chop in. Are you going to make it tonight?
It's fresh. Yes.
Okay. So
it's ground already.
Ground up. Okay. So you want to add an egg if you eat eggs. Do you eat eggs? Yeah. So you want to add an egg to help combine it. I chop very, very finely fine onion into mine. You can also chop in green onion if you like the spring onion.
Mm-hmm.
I would use, you need some other kind of binder for it. So you can actually add chia seeds if you want, but I don't eat wheat. So I would use almond flour, or you can use breadcrumbs. You can chop up pieces of bread. You can actually even use rice, cooked rice. It has to be cooked though. And you mix it all together, and then you add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce or some kind of a little bit of spice to it. That's it. Just, you want the flavoring. And somebody mentioned garlic powder. I can't remember who it was. This is the time where I'd add the garlic powder.
Okay.
Yeah. Valentine, yeah.
Yeah, Valentine. This is where I'd add garlic powder to it. And then you just take your pan and you use avocado oil. Use the high heat oil, so coconut oil or avocado oil. Make it into your patty and put it into, and you're going to cook it on both sides. And of course, your salmon's already cooked. So you don't have to like overcook it. Don't overcook your patty.
It's fresh, but it still probably doesn't need to be cooked that long.
Not that long. Yeah, and especially in the patty, you can put it on both sides.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we just have a few more quick questions here. John's saying, okay, Valentine wants to know about proteins. Well, for me, for proteins, Valentine, I am starting to try and have some form of fish every week, sorry. I do eat chicken. I like chicken thighs more so than chicken breast because I like that flavor. I like the deeper flavor in chicken. That's just me. And I also do eat red meat, but I do buy it from the special butcher here. I don't just buy it from the regular grocery store. Yes, I do coconut oil and I use olive oil a lot. I would just say, yeah, bye-bye to peanut oil. It's just not, it's not that healthy for you. I just have to say it just isn't great. When did you have a question?
I was wondering if you had any familiarity with something called I think it's called Alma powder, ALMA. It's a dried gooseberry powder.
I do not know anything about that. No, I have not heard about that. Sounds interesting. Is it like a fruit?
Fresh gooseberries. They kind of look
Okay.
like orangey cherry tomatoes, but they're sweet as opposed to tomatoey, but that's what they look like in appearance.
Wow, that sounds really good. Sounds really good.
Yeah, you can, yeah. So it's supposed to have some health benefits, but so it's
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. Myrna, Leona has said here in the chat about coconut flour, and coconut flour is very dry, just an FYI. But if you want to stay away from the wheat, you can add a little bit of coconut flour to your patties. And you can buy it in bulk at like a bulk store. It's a very dry flour, so you can't like bake with it just all coconut flour, otherwise it won't turn out. But adding it as a binder in your patties would be a great idea. I do coconut flour. I'm going to use it to coat my fish that I'm going to make tonight before I put it in the air fryer. I'm going to add turmeric to my coconut flour and put it on the outside, like dip it in egg and then that way. All right, we've got just Sin, I think will be the last question, Sin, and then we have to wrap it up.
Oh, hello, hi. I just would like to know, is red sockeye salmon healthier than the pink salmon in the can?
Well, I'm going to say it's sort of like when you have the darker, the red pepper versus the green pepper, there's a little bit more, yes, I guess you could say it's richer in all the amazing things that you need from the salmon, but pink salmon is absolutely still good because you're getting the omega-3 fatty acids. I'd have to look that up to see if there's more omega-3 fatty acids in the sockeye salmon. For us, it's a visual thing. It just looks healthier and looks more rich, and so that might be part of it. But I would imagine there is a little bit more to it, but pink salmon is totally fine. If I can't afford my sockeye salmon, when I'm walking through Costco and I'm buying the cans and the packages, like the 4 cans, I just get the pink salmon.
Yeah. But isn't there a lot of sodium in the canned salmon?
There's probably sodium in it, but I actually like salt and I don't add a lot of salt to anything else. So if you're going to make salmon patties, then just don't add other salt. You got the salt already from the can.
Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you.
You are welcome. All right. This has been a really great class. I've really enjoyed doing this class today with all of you. So I'm going to have to say goodbye. We are live streaming, so they're like, oh, she's gone over. Anyways, take care, everybody, and feel free to come back to class. And
Thank you.
You can hear about more things. All right. Bye, everyone. You're welcome.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Awesome class.